My name's Adam. I'm an interactive media producer with a specialty in virtual reality, and I'm originally from Fairfax, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. I got my first computer when I was in 5th or 6th grade. It was a Commodore VIC-20, which had a cassette drive, like an audio cassette was the storage media. It had 5K of memory, which is like a fraction of what my watch has. Making things with digital started as a hobby and then became my college focus and my career focus. When I say digital, that is computer technology impacting traditional media, film, photography, video, audio. Around the time that I was in college, Photoshop 1.0 came out. There was a monumental breakthrough in how computer-based technology was impacting a decades-old industry and decades-old ways of doing things. I was an early adopter in these tools, and it took about 30 years for VR to incubate from the time I was exposed to it in 1990 until about a couple years ago. It really wasn't ready for prime time. So I went on to have a career doing other kinds of digital and interactive media. One of the things that inspired me in college, in my imagination of what was possible with VR, was my passion for the Grateful Dead. You know, they were unique and famous for allowing their fans to record their concerts. So I started imagining using VR to recreate legendary concerts and giving fans of the modern time the chance to put on the VR glasses and feel like you're at this event that took place in the past. I think it was my junior or senior year in college, I wrote a letter to the Grateful Dead, and I said there's this thing called virtual reality, and we can do these magical things. And at that time, the Dead was one of the most successful bands in the world. I decided they're never going to read this letter. I sort of scrapped it, but I rewrote the letter for another band that was up and coming, that had the same kind of energy as the Grateful Dead. It's a band called Phish, P-H-I-S-H. And I sent that letter off, and I got a letter back from Trey, one of the founders of the band. He said, "This sounds great, Adam, let's talk more about it." The first professional project that I did was animating Phish's first MTV music video. The main role that I have, that I've had in my career, is as first a strategist and then a producer. The strategist understands an opportunity or a problem, and in my case, I design or strategize solutions that use interactive media to address the context. As a producer, I manage the team of architects and designers and artists and producers and developers who make the thing. My wife is Judita Musette. There was a time, maybe even still, when she was pretty famous in Providence as an amazing artist in not just what she put on canvas, but in the way she lives. She is always my best creative advisor and sometimes my creative partner. So when I came to Providence, I met her in the first few days I was here, and I think it was May, I was suffering, as I often do, with terrible hay fever, allergies. I was all stuffed up. So the very first day I met her, she said, I know what we can do. I can help you. I'm going to take you to my acupuncturist and we'll get some Chinese herbs. I know it'll work. So the very first day I met her, she threw me in her car and we drove to her acupuncturist. And so she had this compassion for a stranger, and she's beautiful in so many ways that I just couldn't help but fall in love with her. One of the VR experiences that I'm building right now is the project on the Gatsby Affair, this event that took place before the American Revolution in Rhode Island. When I think of the work I'm most proud of, in a way it's the work that is about doing good for the world, and that is at the same time fulfilling for me from a creative standpoint and a technology standpoint. When you're designing a VR experience, you have to think in terms of 360 degrees, first of all. And I like interactivity. I mean, there are passive VR experiences. Those are sort of like surround films. I'm more interested in surround films where the user has control over the way the story unfolds. So in film and video, the screen is like this big, and that's still a big canvas to do amazing things. But when you add all of this, to the canvas, it creates both new challenges and new opportunities. So creating content is a matter of filling in 360 degrees, and also when it comes to action, making sure that you're using the 360 degrees effectively. If you're just creating a VR experience where the action's happening in front of you, you may as well make a film. You want things happening all around. And speaking mostly about visuals, but there's also the audio part of VR. The sound design is really critical to creating a sense of immersion and a feeling of presence in the environment. And the audio also is 360. In VR, you may have things happening back here when the user's looking that way. So you can use things like sound cues. Because it's 360 degree audio, you could hear some footsteps happening back there, which cues the student or the user to turn around and notice what's happening. With the Gatsby project, I used a 360 degree camera that Google loaned me to film recreations of some of the events of the Gatsby story. So I used historic locations that were a part of this story in the 1770s with historic reenactors who wear very authentic clothing. And because I'm interested in the 360 degrees, the experience is that the student feels like they're in the shoes of one of the participants in the story. Kind of like this room right here. This is a room in the John Brown house that was built in the 1780s. And you can imagine what this room was like, centuries ago, because it's all very well preserved around us. And we're going to be doing that in a digital simulation. So using 3D models and 360 degree film and video to recreate environments from that time period. I guess my advice is someone who's interested in this field or a similar field is make stuff all the time. Make stuff, whether it be for work or home. The tools are available. That's how you get experiences making things. If I wasn't a digital media producer, I might be in lawn care, lawn maintenance. I love mowing my grass and raking leaves and stuff because I can do 5 minutes of work and look over my shoulder and see all the progress I made, and it's very satisfying. In my work, there's a long way between starting a project and finishing it. It's almost, on occasion, kind of anticlimactic when the thing is done. So maybe I'd be doing something where the results are visible much more quickly.